Elizabeth Eliza Montgomery, the young lady of a prominent Boston family, felt like a sapling lost amidst ancient trees. The Montgomery family prided themselves on their illustrious academic and business traditions, where every member shone with brilliant achievements. But Eliza was different. She wasn't good at numbers, had no passion for business, and social tea parties only made her feel stifled, like a bird caged in gold. She was considered a failure in the eyes of her parents and siblings, a wild flower misplaced in a proud rose garden. Pressure, expectations, and harsh comparisons suffocated her sensitive soul, turning her dreams into ashes. One sweltering summer day, when the air in Boston was thick with heat and stifling humidity, after a fierce argument with her father about her undefined future, Eliza decided to leave. She had no clear plan, only knowing she needed to escape that suffocating, gilded cage. A one-way train ticket took her to the south of France, to the romantic region of Provence, where endless lavender fields stretched out like giant purple carpets and lush green vineyards wound along the hillsides, like emerald ribbons draped across the landscape. The vineyards were laden with ripe grapes, plump clusters shimmering under the golden sun, promising a bountiful harvest. The scene held a simple beauty, yet concealed prosperity and a peaceful life. She stumbled upon a small advertisement on a community bulletin board at a small roadside cafe. Gardener wanted at La Vigne Enchantée Farm. It sounded truly dreamy, like an escape from harsh reality, an invitation to a completely different world. La Vigne Enchantée Farm was nestled among gentle rolling hills, far from the bustling city. It was a vast estate with ancient grapevines, their gnarled trunks bearing the marks of time. Their leaves lush and full under the sun. An old but cozy stone house emerged within that space, its bright red roof hidden beneath verdant trees. In front of the house was a clear blue lake, its surface calm like a giant mirror, reflecting the clear blue sky with fluffy white clouds and towering pine trees casting their shadows onto the water, creating a vibrant ink wash painting. When Eliza arrived, she felt as if she had found a forgotten paradise, a place where time seemed to slow down. The smell of damp earth after the night's rain, the faint scent of ripe grapes on the wind, and the chirping of birds intertwined, creating a peaceful symphony that soothed her wounded soul. The owner of the farm was Antoine Dubois, a man in his 40s, with neat, brown parted hair and deep blue eyes that held both experience and kindness. His smile revealed small wrinkles at the corners of his eyes, making him seem even more friendly. Antoine was not like the men Eliza had met in Boston. He was not ostentatious or glamorous, but exuded the honest, rustic simplicity of someone connected to the land. His hands were calloused from work, his fingers rough, yet he could gently caress a grape leaf, and his eyes held a subtlety and deep love for viticulture. Eliza had no gardening experience. She was clumsy with hoes and spades. The gardening tools seemed too heavy and foreign to her soft hands. She was even afraid of the small insects crawling on the ground. Antoine just smiled kindly, patiently guiding her little by little. He taught her how to hold a hoe, how to till the soil, how to care for grapevines, how to prune branches for better growth, how to identify pests through the smallest signs on the leaves, and most importantly, how to listen to the voice of the earth, to feel the rhythm of nature. Under Antoine's guidance, Eliza gradually got used to the work, though it was initially difficult and awkward. She learned to feel the life flowing in each vine, each grape cluster, and began to feel herself integrate into the rhythm of the farm. Life at La Vigne Enchantée farm was far different from anything Eliza had ever known. She woke up to the chirping of birds from lush trees, with morning sunlight filtering through the windows. She worked under the brilliant Provence sun, feeling the warmth of the earth and the scent of plants. In the evenings, she watched the sunset over the vineyards, painting the sky red, creating a breathtaking tableau. There were no lavish parties, no expensive silk dresses, just simple work clothes and dirt-stained boots. But strangely, Eliza felt more at peace than ever before. She began to find joy in small things, a new sprout emerging from the soil, a plump grape glistening with morning dew, or simply a cool glass of water after a tiring day's work, with the sweet taste of water and the breath of nature. Antoine was a man of few words, but he always observed Eliza subtly. He recognized her, longing for recognition, for belonging in her eyes. He didn't force her to become a skilled farmer, but encouraged her to explore new things. He often told her about the history of the farm, about the stories of farmers who had spent their lives dedicated to the land, about bountiful grape harvests that brought joy and failed harvests that brought worry. Through Antoine's stories, Eliza gradually understood the value of perseverance, patience, and a deep love for the work for this land. One rainy afternoon, Eliza sat by the window, watching raindrops dance on the wet asphalt, creating shimmering puddles like mirrors. The surrounding trees at the farm had turned vibrant, yellow, orange, and red, forming a narrow winding path between two rows of trees, like a soft silk ribbon draped across the autumn landscape. The scene held a subtle sadness, but was also full of poetry, like a vivid oil painting. Antoine brought her a hot cup of tea, the warmth from the cup spreading through her hands, then sat down opposite her, telling her about a cold winter when the farm almost collapsed due to a devastating frost. His eyes were distant, but his voice remained strong and determined. Eliza realized that behind that calm exterior was a resilient and strong spirit, a man who had gone through many ups and downs, but still held on to his faith. Eliza also began to share her feelings with Antoine. She told him about her family, about the invisible but heavy pressures, about feeling alienated and lonely. Antoine listened sincerely, without judgment, only occasionally nodding gently or whispering a comforting word, enough for her to know that he was always there, listening to her. He didn't try to solve her problems, but simply was there for her, letting her know she wasn't alone, that there was someone always ready to share her burden. Gradually, Eliza discovered a hidden talent of hers. She had a special ability in winemaking. Antoine guided her through the winemaking process, from carefully harvesting grapes to fermenting them in oak barrels and aging the wine in deep cellars. Eliza, with her keen sense of taste and delicate perception, experimented on her own, blending different grape varieties, creating unique, surprising flavors. Antoine was very surprised and encouraged her to develop this talent. He believed that each grape cluster had its own soul, its own story, and the winemaker's task was to awaken that soul, turning it into a work of art. Eliza was enthralled with winemaking. She spent hours in the cellar, where the air was cool and quiet, only the smell of damp earth and aging wine. She experimented with new formulas, meticulously recording every detail, from temperature and humidity to aging time, the sweet smell of fermenting grapes, the faint scent of oak barrels, all blended together, creating a symphony of flavors and emotions. Immersing her in her own world. Antoine often came to watch her work, his eyes filled with pride, without saying a word. He was not just her employer, but also her teacher, her companion, the one who believed in her when no one else did. One day, Antoine suggested Eliza try entering a local winemaking competition. Eliza initially refused, fearing failure, fearing judgment from others, something she had endured throughout her life. But Antoine encouraged her, telling her that what mattered wasn't winning or losing, but daring to try, daring to pursue her passion. He said, "Every bottle of wine is a story. Let your story be told, be heard." With Antoine's encouragement, Eliza decided to participate. She spent many sleepless nights researching, learning from books, from experienced winemakers, and finally, she created a special wine with a delicate, profound flavor, reflecting her own soul, a blend of life's sweetness and bitterness. It was named La Promesse d'Eliza, Eliza's promise, like a promise to herself of a new life, a better future. On the day of the competition, Eliza felt incredibly nervous. She looked around, seeing professional winemakers, people with many years of experience. With confident eyes, she felt small and lost among them. But when she saw Antoine standing there, smiling reassuringly, his smile like a warm ray of sunshine, she felt renewed strength, more confidence in herself. The competition results were announced, and La Promesse d'Eliza won first prize. The entire hall erupted in thunderous applause. Eliza couldn't believe her ears. Her eyes welled up with tears. She had achieved something she had never dared to dream of, something her family had never thought she could do. Antoine walked over and hugged her tightly, his eyes sparkling with happiness and pride. It was the moment Eliza felt acknowledged, loved, and belonged, not because of her family's reputation, but because of herself, because of her talent. News of Eliza's success quickly spread. The Montgomery family in Boston also heard about it. At first, her parents didn't believe it. They thought it was just a temporary stroke of luck, a meaningless pastime for a less talented daughter. But when a renowned New York Times journalist, a newspaper the Montgomery family always trusted, came to interview Eliza and wrote a long, detailed article praising La Promesse d'Eliza and the touching story behind it, her parents began to take the matter seriously. They decided to go to France to find out, to witness their daughter's transformation with their own eyes. The meeting between Eliza and her family took place at La Vigne Enchantée farm. Her mother, Mrs. Eleanor, still maintained her cold, distant demeanor with her familiar stern expression. Her father, Mr. Richard, seemed suspicious, his eyes scanning Eliza with scrutiny. Her siblings still looked at her with probing and somewhat curious eyes. Eliza felt an invisible wall separating her from her family, a wall that had existed for too long. She had prepared herself for a confrontation, for familiar criticisms, for the disappointment she always felt from them. But Antoine stood by Eliza like a solid wall. He didn't say much, simply invited the Montgomery family to taste La Promesse d'Eliza. Mr. Richard initially refused, saying he had no interest in wine, especially wine from a small farm. But when Antoine persisted, gently placing the glass in front of him, he reluctantly picked it up and brought it to his nose. A delicate aroma, unlike any wine he had ever tasted, filled the air. He reluctantly took a small sip. His eyes slowly widened, a surprise clearly evident on his stern face. He tasted another sip, then another, as if searching for something in the flavor. Finally, he exclaimed, his voice full of surprise and admiration, "Marvelous! "I have never tasted a wine like this. It has a life of its own." Mrs. Eleanor also reluctantly took a sip, and then a rare smile, a warm smile Eliza hadn't seen in a long time, bloomed on her lips. She said, her voice softer, "Eliza, you have done something extraordinary. This flavor, it's truly special." Afterward, Antoine took the Montgomery family on a tour of the vineyard, telling them how hard Eliza had worked, how she had learned and grown. He didn't embellish or exaggerate, just told the truth sincerely. Every detail about Eliza's sweat and tireless efforts. He spoke of her perseverance, her love for each vine, each cluster of grapes. Gradually, the Montgomery family's gaze towards Eliza changed. They began to see a different Eliza, a confident, passionate, and talented Eliza, not the failure they once thought. That evening, the whole family had dinner together. For the first time in many years, there were no complaints, no judgments, no tension, only joyful laughter, clinking glasses, and stories about wine, about the farm's future plans. Eliza felt a warmth spread through her heart, like warm water flowing over old wounds. She knew that the cracks in her family relationships had begun to heal, little by little. After meeting her family, Eliza decided to stay at La Vigne Enchantée. She realized that this was where she belonged, her true home. She and Antoine worked together to develop the farm, expanding wine production. La Promesse d'Eliza became a renowned brand, loved by many, not only in France, but also reaching international markets. Eliza's life was no longer about lavish parties, but about waking up early to tend to the vineyard, feeling the dew still lingering on the leaves. She spent evenings sitting with Antoine, enjoying a glass of wine made by her own hands, and watching the stars twinkle in the night sky. Feeling a strange tranquility, she learned to appreciate simple moments, small things that create true happiness, values she had never known before. La Vigne Enchantée Farm also became a tourist attraction. Visitors from all over the world came to enjoy fine wine, to admire the beauty of the peaceful countryside, where lush green hills stretched endlessly, and the air was fresh. They came to hear the beautiful love story of Eliza and Antoine, a story of courage and faith. They came to seek peace, healing, and a connection with nature, to temporarily forget the worries of modern life. Eliza and Antoine were not just colleagues, but soulmates. They shared everything, from small joys in their work to life's difficulties. Their love was not loud or ostentatious, but quietly bloomed, deep and enduring, like the ancient grapevines that had been intertwined with this land for hundreds of years. One day, Eliza and Antoine walked together on a winding village path, covered with vibrant red and yellow leaves. The damp smell of earth after the rain, the characteristic scent of dry leaves in autumn, and the golden sunlight filtering through the foliage created a breathtaking scene, like a colorful ink wash painting. Eliza held Antoine's hand tightly, feeling a sense of peace spread through her heart. She had found happiness, found her purpose in life, and found true love, right where she never thought she would. Over time, the relationship between Eliza and the Montgomery family improved significantly. Her parents frequently visited the farm, no longer with scrutinizing or judgmental attitudes, but with pride and love. They no longer saw Eliza as the weak, timid young lady she once was, but as a strong, talented, and independent woman, someone who had found her own path. One summer day, the entire Montgomery family visited the farm together. Mrs. Eleanor personally prepared a lavish meal, with traditional dishes Eliza loved. Mr. Richard sat telling jokes, his laughter echoing through the house. Her siblings helped her in the vineyard, pruning and watering together. It was a warm family moment, filled with laughter and love, a vivid picture of reunion. Eliza looked around, seeing her parents had aged considerably, their hair silvered, but their eyes were still full of love and contentment for her. She realized that despite past misunderstandings and conflicts, family bonds would always be the most sacred and precious thing, a peaceful haven for everyone. Eliza also frequently visited her hometown in Boston. She no longer felt pressure or constraint. She confidently shared stories about life on the farm, about the plump grape clusters, about the wines she had created, about successful harvests. Her parents listened attentively, their eyes filled with pride for their daughter. One of the most memorable moments was when Mr. Richard Montgomery, Eliza's stern father, personally came to the farm and helped Antoine harvest grapes. He, a man who had spent his life dealing with numbers in multi-million-dollar deals, now meticulously cut each cluster of grapes, sweat dripping, but a smile never leaving his face. He chatted with the vineyard workers, asking about their work, something he had never done before. It was the moment Eliza realized that love can heal all wounds, break down all barriers, and connect seemingly distant souls. Elisa and Antoine's life continued peacefully and happily. They built a small family together at La Vigne Enchantée Farm, a cozy home with natural-colored linen curtains, landscape paintings hanging on the walls, and a warm fireplace in winter, where the crackling of burning wood echoed steadily. Every morning, Eliza and Antoine enjoyed a simple breakfast together, with freshly baked crusty bread, fragrant local cheese, and a steaming cup of black coffee. The warmth from the cup spreading throughout the room. They sat at the dining table, gazing at the beautiful scenery through the window, where majestic mountains, the emerald green of trees, and the clear blue lake emerged from the hazy morning mist. It was a living painting, changing with every moment of the day. They had romantic evenings by candlelight, enjoying bottles of wine made by Eliza herself, each sip telling a story. Antoine often played the guitar, its melodious tunes echoing in the quiet space, and Eliza sang French folk songs, her voice clear and expressive. Her singing, harmonizing with Antoine's guitar, created a warm and loving atmosphere, where two souls were in perfect harmony. Eliza was no longer the weak, timid young lady she once was. She had become a strong, confident, and passionate woman who had found her own voice. She had found her purpose in life, discovered her hidden talent, and most importantly, found true love. A sincere and deep love, without self-interest. And then, one day, good news arrived. Eliza was pregnant. Both Antoine and the Montgomery family were overjoyed. They prepared together to welcome the new member, the baby, who would be the culmination of love and healing. La Vigne Enchantée Farm was now not just a winery, but also a home, a place filled with love and the laughter of children. Eliza's story is a testament that happiness does not lie in fame or fortune, not in glamorous material possessions, but in inner peace, in sincere love, and in the simplest things in life. It is also a story of healing, of finding oneself, and of rebuilding broken relationships that seemed beyond repair. The grape seasons continued to pass, bringing new flavors, new stories. Each bottle of La Promesse d'Elisa was not just a product, but also a promise, a hope, and a symphony of love, of healing, and of peaceful life in the countryside. And Eliza, the girl who was once ostracized, had now become the queen of her own life, bringing the taste of happiness to everyone. Eliza and Antoine's simple and happy life at La Vigne Enchantée farm remained the same. Sometimes they harvested grapes together under the golden autumn sun, sweat glistening on their foreheads, but radiant smiles on their faces. In their free time, they walked together on the ancient stone-paved narrow path leading to a breathtaking view of the valley. With majestic mountains in the distance, lush green trees, and a clear blue sky dotted with white clouds. This path symbolized the journey Eliza had taken, a challenging road that ultimately led her to the shores of happiness, where she found love, peace, and the meaning of life. The Grape Harvest Symphony continued to resonate, gentle and full of hope, forever telling the story of a love that transcended all prejudices and the true values of life.